Hello everyone. If you look at the headlines which is being displayed, you may notice one thing. The amount of dividend which is paid by companies vary from one company to another. There are good number of chances that even the same company might not pay the same amount of dividend or the same percentage of dividend every year. What exactly are the factors which are influencing these changes in the dividend policies every single year? So, to know that better, we'll be studying this chapter. But before that, let's quickly go through what are dividends. But before that, let's try to understand what are dividends. In an oversimplified example, I would be explaining what dividends are. Let's say, for example, there is a company which requires capital. The capital for a company can be raised in two different ways. One is through debt. They can borrow it from banks, friends, relatives, or family. The second option a company has is it can issue equity shares or preference shares to the public. But when the company decides to issue shares to the public, in return, they are also promising a share in the profits of the company. Say, for example, there are three different people who contributed 1 lakh towards the capital of the company. Let's say the company now has a capital of 3 lakh rupees. This 3 lakh would be used by the company for its project and for its investment purpose. By the end of the year, the company would make, let's say, a profit of 30,000. Now, when this 30,000 is being distributed to all those people who contributed towards the company's capital, they would be called as dividend. So each person, in our example, each person would be getting 10,000 rupees from the net profits of the company. Now, this is called as dividend. There is no hard and fast rule that the company is supposed to pay dividend to the shareholders every single year. It is completely dependent on a lot of factors, and it is the board of directors who makes a decision whether the company should be paying dividends to the shareholders or not. Until and unless they are preference shareholders, the company does not have any obligation to make the payment of dividend to the equity shareholders. But how exactly does a company arrive at this decision? Despite making huge number of profit, there could be chances, there could be cases where the company has paid no dividend at all. What are the reasons for this? Let's try to understand it better. Let's say that the company has three different options with it. The first option, what a company can do with its net profit is that it can retain the entire amount with itself. Now, why would a company do that? It's because the company is very optimistic about its futuristic goals. The company is sure that in future they would be receiving a good project, a good investment opportunity for which they would require capital or money, as a result of which they decide to keep aside the entire net profit with themselves and not distribute any profit to the shareholders. That is one option which is available to the board of directors. The second option which is available to the board of director is that distribute the entire amount which has been earned in the form of net profit to the shareholders. If the company thinks that they are not very optimistic about the futuristic projects of the company, if they think that they might not get good investment opportunities in future, then the best decision is to give away all the amount to the shareholders as dividend and keep them happier. That is the second option which is available. The third option which is available to the board of directors regarding the dividend is that to distribute a part of the net profit to the shareholders and to keep aside some portion of its earnings with itself. This way, it tries to keep the shareholders also happy, not at the cost of paying away all of their net profits to the shareholders. This way, they are also keeping the shareholders happier, and they would also have sufficient amount of cash for future project. How exactly are the board of directors going to decide which among the following are the best option for the company? Now remember, these are very subjective. The decisions regarding the dividends to be paid or to be retained depends upon a lot of intrinsic and extrinsic factors which are very company specific. So, when a company makes a decision regarding how much has to be paid as dividend and how much has to be retained with themselves, such dividends, such policies are called as dividend policy. And dividend theories are formulated by a lot of financial experts. These dividend theories will actually help or provide a guidance to the board of directors in making a decision about the dividend policies. So the chapter Dividend Theories is where we would be learning how these financial experts have come up with different models which serve as a guidance to the board of directors to make a decision regarding the dividend policy of their respective company. Now, to talk about dividend theories, they are broadly classified into two types. The first one is a relevance model. The second one is an irrelevance model. Now, why are they called as relevance and irrelevance? It's purely dependent on the thought that each model comes up with. The relevance model was of the idea that every dividend decision taken by the company has an impact on the value of the company. The company has to be very careful when it comes to dividend policies. Now, there were two people who came up with this idea. One is Walters, second one is Gordon. These two were the two important people whose idea was that dividend decision of a company has an impact on the market value of the share, or the market price of the share is impacted even by dividend decisions of a company. The second one was the irrelevance theory, which commonly includes the Modigliani and Miller approach, or the approach, who were of the opinion that the dividend decision of a firm has least relevance to the value of a company. The value of company depends on so many other factors except for dividend decisions of a company. Each one of them were right in their own way, and how did they come up to this conclusion? We'll be learning that through their model. So the first one is about the Walters model. So we'll be discussing each of these models individually in the next video along with a practical problem. If you have any doubts, you can drop your questions in the comment sections. Thank you.